Although it's been nearly 25 years since The Hunchback of Notre Dame was released, it remains to this day one of Disney's most controversial and talked about films ever. Known for some of the darkest imagery and themes of any Disney film, it's easy to assume that you've seen the worst after you watch this film.
And he shall smite the wicked and plunge them into the fiery pit.
Well, your assumptions are wrong. We've done some digging, and we've unearthed some of the creepiest theories about The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Theories that will show you just how dark this movie really was. I'm Brad with Wicked Binge, and buckle up, folks, because it's gonna be a rough ride.
Well, that's what you get for sleeping with your mouth open.
Look at that disgusting display.
The Cathedral of Notre Dame is alive. As viewers who have seen the movie know, the Grand Cathedral of Notre Dame has always been a cause of much mystery and wonder. The cathedral tends to be the place where some of the weirdest events in the film happen. Some so strange and confusing that you can't help but wonder if the cathedral itself had a part to play in them. But what if it did? Would you be surprised if we told you that the Cathedral of Notre Dame is actually a living organism that feels and expresses emotions? Well, we're here to tell you that it just might be. In order to explain, let's go back to the scene where Frollo mistakenly takes Quasimodo's mother's life. At first, when you look at the scene, you might not find anything strange, but when you look a little closer, you'll notice that the statues seem to be grimacing, almost as if they were angry. Well, one theory suggests that the statues are, in fact, expressing their dissatisfaction for the fact that a murder took place on their grounds. The statues don't approve of murder, so they're simply showing their unhappiness about it, hence the twisted facial expressions.
See there the innocent blood you have spilled on the steps of Notre Dame.
Also, this might be the reason why the Archdeacon convinces Frollo to raise the baby in the cathedral. The Archdeacon knows that the cathedral isn't too pleased with what happened. Therefore, to avoid a backlash and to appease the statues, he was hellbent on making Frollo bring the baby up within the walls of the cathedral. And speaking of backlash, not only does the cathedral feel and express emotion, but based on circumstantial evidence presented in the movie, it would seem that the cathedral is also capable of granting the wishes of others.
Quasi, what's wrong?
Frollo desperately wanted to see Esmerelda immersed in the fire, something which actually does end up happening. During the Hellfire scene, we see Frollo staring intently at Notre Dame. This could mean that the cathedral granted him his wish. This consequently implies that the wisher is not required to be within the church's grounds in order for his or her wishes to be granted. Similarly, following Frollo's death, the cathedral makes the new bell ringer's wishes come true. He's given company. Quasimodo was in desperate need of company. For this reason, the cathedral gave him the gargoyles, who acted as his companions whenever he felt lonely.
Congratulations!
Got the girls chasing you already.
The filmmakers had already stated in an interview that during the movie's development and planning stages, for them, they designed the cathedral as a character with its own personality and quirks.
It doesn't look good.
It's hopeless, absolutely hopeless.
Still, to find out that a church possesses supernatural power is extremely spooky. Kind of reminds you of something from a really scary supernatural horror movie, doesn't it?
To respect the sanctity of the church.
The Hellfire sequence was where Frollo sold his soul. Without a doubt, one of the spookiest and weirdest scenes featured in the movie. If you were ever wondering whether there was more to Frollo's madness than may meet the eye, you're definitely right. Based on analysis conducted, it's quite possible that during this very scene, Frollo made a pact with the devil, in effect, selling his soul to the evil side. I mean, it just seems too creepy not to think about, especially when you look at the evidence presented. First of all, the imagery projected during Frollo's chant suggests that some sort of sinister exchange is taking place, quite possibly the transferal of his soul to the devil, in exchange for supernatural powers.
The devil's so much stronger than a man.
If not, how do you explain the lyrics, "Destroy Esmerelda and let her taste the fires of hell, or else let her be mine and mine alone"? Who could he be possibly addressing? It's clear that he's speaking to a subject, but who? Based on the references of fire, hell, and the fact that the impression given is that whoever Frollo is speaking to has the power to grant him his wishes, it's fair to deduce that those lines are in fact him creating a verbal contract with the devil. It would also seem that through this contract he initiated with the devil, he has gained supernatural abilities. For instance, in the scene where Frollo lights the house on fire, his torch had barely made contact with the house before it went up in flames. Could it be that the house caught on fire extremely quickly? Or the flames that Frollo used to set the house on fire weren't regular flames, rather, flames from hell? Still not convinced? Well, how about when Frollo and Esmerelda are in the heat of battle? Just when he's about to deliver the finishing blow, his eyes change color to a stark yellow, following which he utters, "He shall plunge the wicked into the fiery pit." Is it me, or does it sound just a little too much like a religious chant? Could it be that he's channeling the devil's spirit and condemning Esmerelda to a life of complete and utter damnation?
Silence, you old fool!
Whether it's true or not, the possibility that Frollo sold his soul does add an unusually spooky twist to an already creepy movie. Frollo was cursed by Esmerelda. Just when you thought the movie was creepy enough, it gets kinda creepier. Here's a theory that completely shifts what you might have thought the movie was about, making Frollo seem like an innocent victim following the heinous and evil crime allegedly committed by Esmerelda.
Troublemaker!
As you'll recall, during the Festival of Fools, Frollo ends up seeing Esmerelda dancing in the crowd. He expresses his disgust at the way she was dancing, something which Esmerelda seems to notice, as in the next shot, she's seen looking at him.
Look at that disgusting display.
This is where it gets interesting. She then goes up to Frollo and wraps a purple cloth around his neck. Shortly after, Frollo begins to lose his sanity. This is the crux of this theory. Esmerelda, upset at Frollo's comment about her dancing, decided to cast a spell on him using her purple cloth. It makes sense. It can be argued that the incantation used in the Hellfire scene is actually a hallucination caused by the hex that Esmerelda placed on him. It's all a byproduct of the curse she placed on him, one which causes him to lose his mind.
Witchcraft.
Because he's a religious man, the curse works in such a way that it forces all his visions to be connected in some way, shape, or form to religious practices. Hence the incantations that suggest that he's made a pact with the devil. It would seem that the purple cloth is the root of the problem, something that he himself seems to recognize. During the scene where he declares that he will put an end to Esmerelda, we see that in his left hand, he's holding the purple cloth. The fact that attention is drawn specifically to the purple cloth in his hand suggests that there is more to it than meets the eye, that the source of his misery stems directly from the cloth that Esmerelda used to curse him.
God have mercy on her.
And as much as this movie has a lot to do with dark subject matter, the fact that there's even a possibility that Frollo's bizarre behavior is all a direct result of a spell being cast upon him is a bit unsettling. Quasimodo is an assassin. Although Quasimodo is shown to be a rather complex character who has a lot of goodwill, despite the overwhelming disdain shown to him by the public, there might be a lot more about Quasimodo than is let on. Anyone ever found Quasimodo to be just a little too stealthy for the average person? I mean, obviously, he's not exactly your average Joe, but still, he seems to be remarkably acrobatic and stealthy for someone who has a humpback. What could that possibly mean? Quasimodo might not just be a bell ringer. In fact, he might actually be an assassin. Now, and as much as this might sound unbelievable, let's look at some of the facts. Quasimodo is shown to be extremely acrobatic. He scales buildings and climbs rooftops with ease. How did he develop such a skill? While one plausible explanation is that after a life of complete solitude and inability to see the fullness of the outside world, he mastered the art of scaling buildings in order to get a brilliant view of everything. However, there's another theory, and yes, it's dark.
Dare you defy me?
It's not impossible to believe that Quasimodo was an assassin who murdered the citizens of the town in an act of rage for being rejected for so many years. Despite his gentle and pleasant demeanor, Quasimodo isn't happy about being isolated from the rest of the world. This unhappiness brooded, eventually turning into a deep-rooted hate for those in the town. For this reason, he became an expert assassin who had methodically killed those in the town because they made him feel less than human. For this reason, he perfected his acrobatic skills. That way, after he's finished killing someone, he could easily escape. Of course, in order to not draw much attention to himself, he would carefully plan and space out his murders. That way, no one would easily link the murders to him.
You've done this before?
Although this might not be true, it's still a reasonable theory to reflect on, right? Alright, well, maybe not.
Easy, easy. I just shaved this morning.
But come on. Quasimodo needs to find an outlet to release all the bottled up shame he feels from outsiders who treat him like he's less than human. So why not do a little killing? But what do you think? Do you have any dark theories about the Hunchback of Notre Dame? Let us know in the comments section below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. But most importantly, stay wicked.